Pastor Ruth.
Hello. Some of you, the girls know me because they get me every Thursday. You guys, hello. As he said, I'm Pastor Ruth. I've been here since the opening of this place. Went with the ride trying to find this place. This is a very special place. You remember that, don't you? Got on the bus and looked at that old broken down hotel. And you are very blessed to be here. You're very blessed to have this center here. So don't ever forget that. And I feel very blessed to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. And so each of us are coming from a different place in our lives, everyone teaching on the same thing. So some of the themes are going to be about the same, but it's all going to be presented differently. So mine's going to be presented differently. My background is engineering. I went to college and I worked as an engineer 9 years in Florida and 20 years from Honeywell, and left them and came here, left my job to be here at the Dream Center when it opened, because that was important to me. It's where I wanted my life to go. But in engineering, you find a lot of things are about process. Same thing. Discipleship is about process. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. When you learn to ride a bike, you did the training. I did Team Arizona, whatever. You did something very similar. They teach you something called Find C. And it's the process of starting the bike. So find stands for something. The F stands for your fuel. You used to have to turn your fuel on. The new bikes, you don't have to, but you have to turn the fuel on. And then the I was the ignition, turn the ignition switch on. And then the N was, what's the N? They didn't teach you Find C. Put it in neutral. Make sure it's in neutral so it doesn't lunge forward when you go, okay, when you get it started. And then the E is you've got your engine cutoff switch, but it also starts it. So you put the engine switch on. And then the C is put your clutch in to make sure you don't go anywhere. And then you start your bike. So you do Find C. You go through that process. And when you first learn to ride, it's like, okay, I got to do this. Okay. And then sometimes, you forget. So you go back to that, what you learned, that process you learned in the first place, to remind yourself. One time we rode from, wasn't too far, Colorado. We were going into Durango, into Ignacio. It was raining, it was cold, we were tired. They had just redone the roads. There were no lines on the roads. They were black. You're like, please, God, get us there alive. And you get there and you stop, and it's like, okay, now what do I do? And it's like, oh yeah, turn the ignition off. It's just those processes keep you going. Pastor Barnett used to teach something. He taught lots of things. I was under him for, 23 years. But Tommy Barnett. But he used to teach, make your decision about what you're going to do ahead of time in your life. So then when you're in the situation, you've already got it done. So let's say dating. What are your rules in dating? My rule when my husband and I started dating, we were in our 40s, so we had a past and whatever. So our rule was we could only kiss if we watched a movie that had a good ending. And then we kissed. There was no making out. There was none of that stuff because we wanted to do what was right before God. So we set our boundaries and we stayed within those rules. So that's part of a process. You do that. So maybe, when you start dating, maybe it doesn't have to be that strict, but maybe it needs to be, don't be alone where you can get in trouble, or things like that. So there's process. So, okay, then, I did that. Okay, so then, why do I have the coffee pot? The coffee pot. I just happened to have it available this morning because I just came back from 4 days of camping in Williams, and it was wonderful. It was so nice, did nothing. But coffee, how do you make coffee? When I made coffee for the first time on this camping trip, one of the guys made it first and it was like really black and yuck. And so then the next morning I'm going to make it. So I got a measuring cup and I measured how many cups of water go into this pot. So then I would know how much coffee to put in. Okay, so guys who don't make coffee, 1 teaspoon of coffee per 2 cups, no. 1 teaspoon of coffee for 2 cups of water. And then you can make it heaping if you want strong coffee. But that's what you do. So you put the water in, and then, then you have this little basket thing. So in the basket, which has a lid, in the basket you put the coffee, okay? And then you put this in the pot with the water. And then you put the lid on so the water can drip through, because that's what makes coffee, right? Water dripping through coffee to change itself. Now you what? Put it on the fire. And then it just perks, and eventually you're going to take it off, okay? You're going to watch the color in there, and eventually you're going to take it off, okay? So that's the process for making coffee in this pot. But then there's been lots of process improvements in coffee pots. One of them is you put a filter in to make sure you don't get any grounds in there. And then another process improvement is redesign that basket so the grounds don't get through it, so then you don't have to use the filter and you can save some money on filters. That's a process improvement. Another one is they did this electric coffee pots that you plug into the wall. And then even improving on that, they made a little light on the electric coffee pot so that when the coffee's done, it stops percolating and the light changes. You can see that it's done and it can sit there and just stay warm. Pretty cool, okay? But then, so that's process improvements on the coffee process. But then there's re-engineering. Total re-engineering. Okay, we want coffee, we want it better, we want it faster. Why do you do process improvements and re-engineering? You want a better product, you want it easier to make, easier to sell, make more profit. Of course, everything's about bottom line profit. Okay, gotta have that. So now let's do a re-engineering of coffee. Let's make this little machine that you put these little teeny cuppy things into them. And it heats the water instantly. And all you have to do is wait for, you don't have to wait for, 10 minutes for that, or 10 minutes for an electric pot. You just wait for it to drip into your cup. And it's done. Total re-engineered coffee. Pretty cool. And the thing about coffee is the water passing through the coffee to change the flavor. What does that have to do with discipleship? As we allow the Holy Spirit to flow through us, our flavor changes. We change. Our heart changes as we allow Him to work in us. When you have life with Christ, He is the designer of our process. And He is the designer of how it's going to go, how fast you're going to grow, what's going to happen with you. I have some people in my church, you just want to smack them. And I'm sure there's some here that Walt just would like to smack you upside the head and say, would you wake up? You're not getting it. And there's others, they just get it, man, and they go. They go with God. Okay? They go. Why is that? It's God working in them. But it also has to do with something about us. We have to what? Have time in the Word. So everything about a process takes time. Making coffee takes time. Vegetables growing takes time. Discipleship takes time. Okay? So it takes time in the Word. You learn things from the Word that it's like, wow, I didn't know we weren't supposed to do that. You become men and women of integrity. You learn you're not supposed to lie. You're not supposed to cheat. You're not supposed to steal. You're not supposed to gossip. Okay? What else? You're not supposed to break rules. Okay? When you submit to a rule, you submit to the rule. When you sign your driver's license, you're signing, I'm going to stop at red lights. And I'm going to stop at stop signs. And I'm going to do the speed limit. When you get that license, that's what you've agreed to. And when you came into here, you agreed to, I am not going to smoke. Amen. I am not going to drink. I'm not going to mess around with the women or the men or whatever. I'm going to go the right steps that I'm supposed to use. Whatever the rules are, just do them. Because I promise you, God will honor you for obeying the rules and showing respect to the authority in this place. Okay. I'll stop beating you up. So, time in the Word, time in prayer, time with the Holy Spirit to speak to you. It's not just you there, oh, please bless this one and please bless that one and da-da-da. No, prayer is all the time talking to God. Please, God, help me. Direct my thoughts, direct my actions. Give me the right attitude. God, I really don't like that person. Would you please help me to get along with them? Would you please show me something about them so that I can have some empathy, sympathy, pray for them, something, so that I don't walk around hating them. Change my heart, oh God. Time in prayer. Time in prayer, that's what you're doing in prayer. Learning to obey. The big O word. Hate. Everyone hates to obey. They want to do what they want to do. In discipleship, you have to learn to obey. There were times at Dream City, Phoenix First, whatever it is, when Pastor Barnett would say, I want you to do this. And I know you know this. You didn't want to do it. Cancel your service and come up to mine because it's his 70th birthday or his, I don't know, he's 80-something now. or he wanted this, or he wanted that. And it's like, you know what? We did it because we loved the man, we honored the man, and we were obedient because we put ourselves under his leadership. Right now you're under Pastor Walt's leadership. You obey Pastor Walt.
Amen.
And when you get out of here, you better pay attention to what church you go to and who you put yourself under, because God's going to expect you to obey that man or that woman. Okay? All right. So, learn to obey. You need time to mature, to become a mature Christian. You don't come in here, get saved, I've been here a week and I know it now. I can go out and I can do this and that and the other. And I'm going to go start a dream center and wherever. Nah. Calling is different from burden. You might have a burden to want to go do something. I want to go to El Salvador and change the MS-13 gang. Okay. Good luck with that. I want to do because I have a burden. But you can have a burden, but you also have to have a calling. Ramon had a burden for the people in Mexico, for the kids living in the dump. For all the mess down there. But not only did he have a burden, but he had a calling. God wanted him to go there. And God has blessed every step since he's been there. When I met Teresa, she was selling me vitamins. She'd come down to my church and she would measure my thighs and my waist and sell me some vitamins. And we'd see if I lost any weight. Well, it didn't work, okay. Good thing she got out of that business. Because she's in a much better business. A much better business. You will mature over time. You have to learn to lean on God. I've got this. I can do this. And there's probably lots of things you can do, and you probably can do well. But if you do it without God's presence, without God's anointing, then you just did it. Okay. Who wants to go to church and it's not anointed? It's just a waste of time. I want to go to church every Sunday because, not because I get to preach and stand up there and talk. No, that has nothing to do with it. Because I get to be in God's presence with other people and worship. And as I bring forth what God's told me to write down, he teaches me, he checks my heart. Okay? We get to be in God's presence. So it's a time of learning to lean on God. And it's a time of learning to trust God. You can be a mighty warrior for Christ. Or you can just get through the program and graduate. And you're done. Just participate. And believe it or not, there are people who come through this program who go back to their old lives, go back to their drugs, and die on the streets. Do you want to be that one? Then you're going to have to, while you're here, put some work into this. How many have done 12-step?
I tried it.
What do they tell you with 12-step? You've got to work it.
Work it because you're worth it?
Okay. You got to work it. Discipleship, you got to work it. You got to be in prayer. You got to be in the Word. In this program, you got to work it. Work it. And it'll work for you. And then you can leave a mighty, mighty warrior for God. Okay, so, did you think I would never get to the Word? Not that there wasn't any in there. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about 2 Timothy. 2. And so, of course, I read it in the King James, I study the King James, and then I go look and see what it says in the Message Bible and how it words it there. Because sometimes I like the wording of the Message Bible. And the Message Bible is not an interpretation, it's not a translation, it's an interpretation. So what do they think that the verse said? So this is what they thought. So, my son, throw yourself into this work for Christ. Pass on what you heard from me to reliable leaders who are competent to teach others. The word I like in there was throw yourself into this. Don't dabble in it. Don't play with it. Make a decision. I remember standing at Phoenix First in a pew. The altar call was going on, and I made a decision there. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And that was it. There is no turning back. There's only going forward with God. And then I had to do the things that would cause me to go forward and not backwards. Okay? So what is Paul saying? How does it apply to me? He's saying throw yourself. Throw yourself. Be serious about this discipleship thing. This is not a game here. You're not here to find a wife, to whatever, find a husband, to play games. You're here because God brought you here. Don't think it's an accident you're here. God brought you here. And you need to stay focused on Him. Now, some of you guys, you don't know me. You may have seen me passing by or whatever. That's because I don't talk to the guys. Okay? I don't talk to you. I don't look at you. If you say hi to me, I will say hi back. But other than that, I leave the guys alone because one of the rules is no fraternizing. And so even though I'm a leader and I can fraternize all I want, I don't fraternize. Okay? It's not for me to talk to the guys. I talk to the girls. And I hang out with the girls. That's what I do. You need to be that focused in your walk and what you do. You don't talk to the girls because you're not supposed to be talking to them. Okay? You do what you're supposed to be doing. Throw yourself. Be serious about your discipleship. Some of you live here, and I know not all of you live here. Most of you live here. I've heard it called the scheme center. I've heard it called the gossip center. The drama center. There's lots of other names. And it is a difficult place to live. You throw 4 people, 3 people, 4 people who are totally different into one room and say, now get along. That's not an easy situation. But some of you want to be married. Just think what it's like. You're married till death do us part, and now you're thrown together into an apartment or house, and you have to get along. So it's a training ground. Okay? How to get along. Some people are very upset if you don't put the tube, the top back on the tube of toothpaste. Guess what, guys? Your wife is going to want the top back on the tube of toothpaste. And she's going to want you to fill the ice trays when you take the last piece of ice out. This is just learning to get along, to live together. It is part of maturity. It's part of growing up, of maturity. Being a person of Christ. The other thing is, you're in here with people that are such different levels of maturity. You know, in 12-step, I would teach, people who have done drugs and drinking all their life, you have a problem, and so you go drink or you go drug, and you don't solve the problem. So problems help us mature. That's why Paul says, be glad for them. because they're good for us. They help us mature. And so now you're in this dream center and you may be 25, 35, 40, and you've got the maturity level of a teenager because you never learned to solve problems. And now you have to do that. And others of you are more mature than that. Others of you went to Sunday school and you know the words. Some of you, David who? You know. One girl asked me in class, she's like, do you believe that story? I think it was, what's his name? You know, the guy who hid in the wine thing? Gideon. Do you believe that story of Gideon and how he fought that battle? I'm like, yes, I believe it. It's in the Word of God. It says it. I believe it. Do I believe Jonah was swallowed by a fish? Yes. And if you can read stories of people in Japan that are swallowed by fish, I believe the Word. So you're here different levels of maturity. You're here different levels of brokenness. Some of you have had some terrible abuse in your lives. We sat around the fire and we're like thinking, what are you going to talk about? Camping. It's like, so my question was, what's the worst thing your mother ever did to you? And I'm thinking she would come in the room in the morning and turn on the lights and say, rise and shine. And then the guy next to me says, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. So each one of you are here with different levels of brokenness in your life that God needs to heal, and you need to let him do that. Each of you are here with different levels of commitment. Some of you just want a bed and food, and some of you want to stay forever and ever because you don't want to face life. You're here for different reasons, different commitments. But each one of you should be throwing yourself and be serious about being here. Keep your focus on God and what he's doing in your life. You are blessed to be here. You are blessed. So, you are here to become and like Jesus, to grow as a disciple of Jesus Christ. So I'm like one of these people that I like to look up words. When I'm teaching, it's like, sometimes you can teach on a word and the person doesn't even know what the word means. So you've wasted a whole lot of time. So we're going to make sure we know what the word disciple means. Okay? So disciple. Someone who adheres to, which means agrees with, the teaching of another. A disciple is a follower. A disciple is a learner. That's the definition of a disciple. So you can follow lots of other people, or we follow Jesus. We're disciples of Jesus. Okay, so we got that down. So, Romans 8:29. Everyone knows Romans 8:28, but we're going to look at Romans 8:29. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans. For those of you that don't know your Bible, I say that all the time anyway. Romans 8:29. For whom he did foreknow, he did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So, conform to the image of Christ. I didn't know what God's will is for my life. It says it right there. The will for your life is to be conformed to the image of God. From there on, trust God. The word says the steps of a righteous man are ordered of God. He's going to direct you. I never, ever in my wildest imagination set out to pastor a church. But that's where my steps took me. I remember when we came to this place and we walked all the floors and prayed over every room, and I went in that, it used to be classroom over there, and I stood there and I'm like, maybe one of these days I can teach here. Wow. The steps of a righteous man or woman are ordered of God. So number one, conform to the image of God. That's God's will of Jesus. That's God's will for you. And from there, trust Him to direct your steps. Okay? All right. The mission of Jesus when He was here was, does anyone know? Why did Jesus come to earth? Save us. To seek and to save that which is lost. So if we're followers of Jesus, if we're disciples, if we're conforming to His image, then that needs to also be our mission. To seek and to save those that are lost. So that's number one. That's the mission of being a disciple. And then, okay, He had His 3 T's. I have 3 different ones, okay? So, and you'll probably get 3 more or 5 more or whatever. A disciple of Jesus Christ is first a worshiper. They're a worshiper. A disciple of Jesus Christ is a servant. Oh, yeah. A servant. And a disciple of Jesus Christ is a witness. A witness. Okay. A worshiper. Let's go look at John 4. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Chapter 4. And we're going to verse 23. And it's the story of the woman at the well. The story of the woman at the well who was talking to Jesus about where you should worship. And verse 23 it says, "But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship Him. God is a spirit, and they that worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth." So as disciples of Christ, we need to worship God. We need to worship Him to the point that it's in the back of our head all the time. We're doing something else. I'm doing the books. I'm cleaning the dishes. I'm doing something. But in my spirit is, change my heart, oh God, or something. It's in my spirit because what? We're body, we're soul, which is mind, will, and emotions. And we're spirit, so our spirit can be going on worshiping God when our body and everything else is doing something else. So be a worshiper of God. And then make sure that your worship is genuine and pure. There was a guy that was in the bus ministry once upon a time, and he was in the church, and he was having an affair with someone else, and they said, well, you can't be in the bus ministry and do that. And it's like, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. Well, read the word, it's wrong. But he would go to church, and he'd stand there, and he'd worship God with his hands raised. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Make sure you're pure in your heart, and you're honest when you're worshiping God. You're not just standing there going through the motions. You're truly worshiping God. The next one is you're a servant. You're a servant. So if you go to John 13, and this situation is the washing of the feet. They're having the dinner. They're having the dinner. And, normally when you would get there to a dinner, when you visited someone's house, they would wash your feet first, and then you'd sit down and have your dinner. But no one did that because, they used to lay on the ground, and so someone's feet would be next to your face. And who wants dirty feet next to your face? Well, no one did that because they're all the disciples. I'm a disciple. I don't have to do that. So Jesus did it. And he says in 13:5, after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel wherein he was girded. He was a servant. And then go over to 14, chapter 13, verse 14, and it says, if I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. All right, guys, this doesn't mean we need to go out and start having foot washing services. But it does mean that we need to serve one another. This isn't about foot washing. This is about being a servant. This is about humbling yourself. This is about not thinking you're so high and mighty that you can, I'm in security, I can do whatever I want, I can break the rules. I'm an RA. I don't have to go to church at wherever, I can stay home in my room and just chill. Right, guys? No one in the body of Christ is above another. We are all children of God. We need to all love one another. Okay, I gotta go fast. All right. A disciple is a worshiper, a disciple is a servant, and a disciple is a witness. A disciple is a witness, John 20. See, in my service, I just preach, and when we're done, we're done. And if we go a half hour or an hour, who cares? We're done when we're done. But I'm going to finish up one time as hard as I can try. Then said Jesus to them, peace unto you, as my Father has sent me, even so I send you. And what's the last thing he said before he left? Go into all the world. Preach the gospel. We are to be witnesses, believing, accepting Christ. It changes our attitudes, our desires, and our motives. Maybe one time in your life, I never want to be a Bible thumper. I hate those Bible thumpers. I hate those people who come knock on my door. And now you become one. You are one. You go out on the street and you talk to strangers. You got more guts than me, man. I hate street ministry. It's just not my calling. I can talk to people in the street, but it's just not my calling. It's not where I'm at. So anyway, but you guys, you do awesome. To go into Tempe, where everyone's drinking and partying, amazing. But that's okay. I go into Sturgis, South Dakota with all those crummy, stinking, dirty bikers that are half-dressed and whatever. I go there. That's where God's called me. Okay. Because what God has done in your life, you want to share it. That's why you're a witness. You want to tell how God has done something. You want to share something you learned. Oh, did you see this verse? This is so cool. Weirdo. Not when you love God. It's important to you. It's important to you. So how do we do all this? How do we become a true disciple, a worshiper, a servant, a witness? The word says we can't do anything of ourselves. We're just like filthy rags. Our righteousness is as filthy rags. Okay? So what does that mean? Yeah. Our efforts, our attempts don't amount to anything. Trying for sinless perfection you won't get there. Trying to be sober on your own, you won't get there. Trying to live a sinless, righteous life, you won't get there. Righteousness is right standing with God. Doesn't mean you never did anything wrong. It means that when you do something wrong, you go to God and you say, please forgive me, I should not have done that. Please change my heart so I don't do that again. Okay? Then, how do we do this? Then I found this really cool verse. I close with this. Psalms 119. The longest chapter in the Bible. And we're going to verse 32. Verse 32, other page. Did I write it down right? 32. Teach me, O God, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep them unto the end. 36 is my favorite. Incline my heart unto thy testimonies. Nope, that's not it. No, 37. Turn away my eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken me in thy way. Quicken me in thy way. Make me aware. Help me to be what you want me to be. Only God can change you. Only He can enlarge your heart so that you love people, that you care about people, so that you can worship people. Only He enlarges your heart so that you love God and you worship Him. His love, His word, His way. That's what I want my life to be about. Walking and pleasing and conforming to the image of Christ. That is my prayer. For me, that's my prayer for you. I know you're busy. Your schedules are crazy. But don't skip your prayer time. It's so important. Billy Graham said the only thing I wish I'd done different in life was pray more. That was Billy Graham. Don't skip your prayer time. That's where you will be changed. That's where you will have healing. That's where you will get direction and wisdom. In all your busyness, don't forget to pray.